to the fifth, but not the final show of Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. We have one of the most talented plant-based chefs that I have seen come on the scene, and especially if you are interested in Japanese food, because she is Japanese or half Japanese, but still she makes beautiful books. This is her second volume of a plant-based Japanese cookbook, and she's going to make something that I probably won't pronounce correctly. And honestly, I don't know what it is. Onigiri, and her name is Chef Julia Dunaway, and she teaches amazing classes virtually, in person. Her food is beautiful, and here she is. Hi, Julia. Nice to see you.
Hi, Chef AJ. It's great to be back on, and
Oh,
I'm excited to do my little demonstration of something that maybe a lot of people don't even really know what it is, because
yeah,
obviously you didn't.
yeah, I
But
didn't.
you
But
know,
I got to be honest, I follow you more for your puppy than your food.
oh, I was going to ask Steve to bring him in toward the end. So,
He's
you know,
so cute.
he,
It's
I get a lot of people watching my live streams every morning. I've been doing a live stream every morning about 9 o'clock, and I go get the puppy and I say, okay, I'm going to bring the puppy on every morning. So if you want to see him, you have to
It's like,
watch. And
if
so
you
they're
want
happy.
to see the puppy, you have to buy the bundle from Julia, and we'll be posting her link in both the chat and the
Yeah.
show notes.
Yep.
Yeah, the word that I mispronounced, I'm not sure what it is, but I'm guessing there's some rice involved.
Yes, yes. It is a rice ball. And I can go ahead and start making those and get my cooking demo out of the way. And let me put this up. Just before I put this up, these are your Goodman's peanut shoes, Chef AJ, that I made from the bundle. And they are so scrumptiously delicious.
They look so good. You executed the recipe perfectly, I could tell.
Yeah. And they turned out so well that I'm going to the Professional Chefs Association meeting tomorrow, and I'm taking these with
And
me.
if they
So I
ask
don't,
for the recipe, you say three
yes.
words, buy
Yeah.
the bundle.
And but the main reason I'm taking them is because they're so delicious that I keep wanting to eat them all. And I
I know
have eaten them.
I cannot have them in the house. I make them if I'm
Yes.
going to a potluck right before, and
Uh-huh.
that's it. They never come back home.
I have eaten quite a few, I have to admit. So, okay, so let me go over what an onigiri is. It's a rice ball. And there's even an emoji, an onigiri emoji. It's a emoji. It has a little white little triangle with a piece of seaweed on it. And onigiri are, to the Japanese, they're like sandwiches. So, in other words, the Japanese mom for breakfast or for lunch, packing lunch, would make these rice balls and send them in the school lunch instead of a sandwich. Of course, nowadays, everybody's more westernized. They probably eat sandwiches and they don't eat them as much. But in the convenience stores in Japan, they sell onigiri in Lawson's, which is a famous convenience store, 7-Eleven, all those kind of places. And they have them all wrapped up and ready to go with all kinds of different fillings. So they're kind of like a picnic snack, a quick meal on the go, or something that your mom would make and you would sit down and at the table and eat it. And it was so special to my mother, who's Japanese, who died in 2006, when she was in the hospital and she was didn't have much of an appetite, and she didn't have much long time left to live. I was visiting her one day, and I said, can I bring you something to eat? Because she did not like the hospital food. It was, American food. So she said, oh, Julia, make me some onigiri. And I said, okay. And I had never made it before. I mean, it was not something I made. She made it. I never made it. So I went home and I cooked a pot of Japanese rice, and I formed a bunch of them in balls and brought them to her. And she was like eating them. And I said, well, how are they? She said, well, they taste good, but they don't look very pretty. So she kind of criticized my skill. So I got a lot better. First thing I have to do is get some rice. And because I know Chef AJ doesn't have a problem with white rice,
I
then I'm
love
using
white
white
rice. I
rice.
don't know why people make it like it's so evil. It's the best.
Well, the authentic Japanese way is to use white rice, and it's Japanese rice, and it's a really high quality rice. It's called Koshi Hikari, and I buy it at the Asian store like H Mart. It's a short grain rice. It's premium. It's kind of expensive, but for something like this, the better the rice, the better quality thing you're going to get. So splurge a little if it's something you don't make that often, and get some really good rice, and you won't be sorry. So I cook the rice in my rice cooker. I have a Japanese rice cooker. It's a really high-end one. And what that means is it really cooks the rice well. It does not mess it up. It doesn't make it mushy. It doesn't, make it turn out wrong. It turns out right every time. And all you have to do is put the rice in the little, you put your 3 cups of rice in it, and then you put water up to the level in the pot that it shows you need for 3 cups of rice. So you don't have to worry about it. So I put the rice in this bowl here. And the reason for that is because it's hot. And if you tried to stand there at the pot and grab rice out of it, you burn your hands, and you don't want to do that. So what I do is I put the rice in this bowl to let it cool off. And I have a bowl of water because this is incredibly sticky. Rice is so sticky. So you have to wet your hands when you're handling the rice, and it will stick to your hands. And the other thing that we do for onigiri is we put a little salt on our hands. So I know some of you are not salty people. So if that's true, you don't have to use the salt. We just kind of dip our fingers in the salt and spread it around. But you can also use like this green salt alternative. It's 50% less sodium. Or you can use one of these local spicery salt substitutes like salacious. You could put that on your hands. So you don't even have to do the salt if you really didn't want to. But that's the traditional way, is to put a little salt on your hands. I'm going to take about maybe 1/3 of a cup of rice and put it in my little form here. And I'll do it 3 times. Then you'll see what I'm going to do in a minute. And this form, I have all these supplies in my Amazon store. So if you think, well, where would I get something like that? They're in there. And then I'll show you really quick when I'm done with these how to make them without any kind of special equipment. So you can also make these without a form. You could just make them in your hand. But they turn out really cool this way. What I have here is I have chickpea, I don't want to call it tuna, but chickpea mayo. It's kind of a filling. And it's kind of like your chickpea spread that you make for sandwiches, but it's got an Asian kind of a flair to it. It has some konbu seaweed powder in it, and it has a little soy sauce in it to give it kind of the taste that you would find in the Japanese style thing they call tuna mayo, which is one of the popular fillings. So we're going to put about a teaspoon on top of the rice that's already in here. And then we're going to cover it with more rice. So with all onigiri, there's something inside typically. And I have a wet cloth here because your hands get kind of messy. So there's always something in the middle of the rice ball. And it could be anything from, it could be sauteed mushrooms. And I'm just kind of covering the top with another little bit of rice. And don't get your hands too wet or your rice will get wet. And then that's not good. You don't want to have a bunch of rice that's dripping wet because you won't be able to form this into balls. So, I'm using the chickpea filling, but another popular one in Japan is ume plums. And they actually sell these in America. They're easy to get in Japanese stores, but Eden makes them, the Eden company, and they're just whole plums, and they're very, very kind of sour. And they have been, I think they've been sun-dried for a year, is what it says on here. Handmade, pickled with shiso, sun-dried and aged over a year. And this is a really common thing. They'll take pieces of that plum and put it on the inside. Well, the plum is supposed to preserve it a little bit so it stays fresh longer, but also it has a lot of properties in the plum that are supposed to be beneficial to your health. Like it's really good for digestion. And the ume plum is something that they'll give pregnant women if they have morning sickness. But, the bad thing about it that turns a lot of people off is it's incredibly salty. Okay, so now I'm just going to lift this off, and voila, I have these perfectly cute little rice balls. And I'm just going to take one in my hands and show you that it's a triangular shape. That's kind of what you're after. And then the last thing that we do with them, and they're still kind of warm, and there's nothing wrong with them being warm, is we take seaweed and we put seaweed around them. So I have a piece of seaweed here, and seaweed has a shiny side and a rough side. The shiny side always goes on the outside because that's the pretty side. So we're going to just kind of hold it with the seaweed, and my seaweed's a little bit too long, so I'm just going to cut the excess off. I should have done that before I got started, but I wasn't sure how long it was going to be. And then it kind of makes its own little jacket. And why you put the seaweed on the outside is because if you tried to hold this sticky rice, it sticks to your hands. So you don't want that. So they usually put the seaweed on it to eat it, so you have a way to hold it. And then I take this, it's another hard thing to pronounce, Chef AJ, furikake, which is seaweed sprinkles. And I put that around the edges, and that has a really good flavor, delicious flavor. And there's my finished onigiri. And then I'll set it on my plate. I'll make a couple more.
That wasn't that difficult. And somebody used the that thing from Trader Joe's yesterday.
Oh, the furikake?
Yeah, on the show, because they sell it at Trader Joe's.
Yeah, they sell it everywhere. And in fact, Amazon has all these different flavors. They have just a typical green one like the one I use, but they have a yuzu flavored one. And then there is a umeboshi, that's that plum, that purple plum I just showed you flavor. And these are all organic, and they've reduced the sodium in these so that they're not as high sodium as the Japanese version. And they taste really great. So you can use these, like if you're a person that just likes to eat a bowl of rice, you sprinkle this on your rice and it gives it this really delicious flavor. And if you didn't want to make onigiri and you just wanted to have the chickpea filling and some rice, you can just put the chickpea filling and your rice in a bowl and sprinkle some of that furikake on it, and you have a delicious thing too. You don't have to go through all the trouble of making rice balls, but I'm going to show you how to make one without the form in just a second. Let me finish these up. But it's not a hard thing to make. It's fairly simple, but the taste of them is really good. Like when you bite into it, it's crunchy from the seaweed and the soft from the rice, and then you get to the filling and you have this really good kind of creamy chickpea tuna kind of a thing, and it's just such a satisfying, delicious meal to me. But it's like whatever your culture, your heritage that you grew up with, or things that you might find really delicious, where people that weren't exposed to it would think it's not so great. Like nowadays a lot of people in America like seaweed and sushi, but when I was growing up, people thought that was terrible. When I would bring people to my house and open the pantry and they would see all my mother's Japanese food, they would be, like shocked at how strange it was. Seaweed and little fish with their eyes still in them. And there was a lot of strange stuff in the pantry, I have to admit. But I thought it was a novelty to take people and show them the strange stuff in the pantry. That was probably kind of mean of me. My mother didn't know I did that, but when you're a punky little kid, you do stupid stuff.
Do you make sushi often?
I do, not very often, but occasionally. I tend to make, like I didn't have time to do sushi burritos and this today, but let's say that you wanted to make a sushi burrito. All you would have to do is take a piece of seaweed and put rice on it and put something on top of it and roll it up. And that's as easy as can be. The seaweed I use is, I have this really premium seaweed, but it comes in sheets like this. Whoops, that one tore.
Okay, so I love sushi and I love white rice sushi.
Oh, good.
But it does have sugar and salt in it, and I eat it. I don't care. I'm not strict like people think. I don't cook with sugar and salt.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, is the secret to sushi the sushi rice, or is it because the vinegar and the salt together make it so tasty, or both?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because onigiri does not use any vinegar in the rice. The onigiri that I made, and here's 3 of them on a plate, it does not use any vinegar. It's just plain rice, and then there's a filling inside. So technically you could make your own sushi and not put vinegar and salt and sugar in the rice, and it would taste fine. Yeah. It's just, that's the typical thing, because it was thought back in the beginning that vinegared rice would not spoil as fast. So the reason for it was for spoilage. But now we're not, leaving our stuff out in the temperature for long periods of time. So it was more for that. And then usually the taste of the vinegar, salt, and sugar in the sushi is supposed to be kind of subtle. So it shouldn't be a major factor in how much you enjoy the sushi. There's a lot of fillings you can put in that have a lot of flavor, and then you can get your flavor from the fillings.
Right. Well, also the little, I love that ginger, but the ginger has
Mhm.
sugar too, but that's so good. A little piece of
Yeah,
ginger they put in.
in my Japanese ebook, there's a bunch of recipes in here, but there's definitely a lot of sushi recipes. And the other thing that's in here is ginger. So I have like a basic sushi roll that uses a lot of good ingredients, but I also have a recipe in here for pickled ginger. And it turned out really good. So,
Oh.
anyway, I don't want to have to scroll through this and look for it, but
So
I made my own pickled
the
ginger.
pickled ginger is in this current book.
Yes, yes, it is.
That's
And
fantastic.
it's an improvement over the one I had in my last Japanese ebook. So,
But people have been mentioning your book as they come on the show. When they ask them
oh
what
yeah.
else did they, when I say what did you like in the bundle other than your offering, your name comes
Mhm.
up a lot. And what do
Oh,
you like
great.
in the bundle other than your beautiful book?
What's that? What would you say? I'm sorry.
What other offerings in the bundle caught your eye other than your wonderful book?
Oh, thank you for saying that. But there are so many good ones. I had made a list of my top 10, and I was going to post that on my social media. But I really liked the Happy Vegan Couple, and they have Mexican food. And there was something about them. They seemed so cool and nice. And I like their recipes. They actually look like things I would eat. Because sometimes I look at people's recipes since I'm a chef and I go, that doesn't sound like it's going to be very good. But theirs I looked at and said, I want to make that. And then Chuck Underwood with Brand New Vegan, I'm making his tortilla soup tomorrow sometime on my live stream. So I'm going to make his tortilla soup because it sounded good. Kathy Hester, I love Kathy Hester. I'm going to be on her show Friday, I think. And she and her partner Cheryl went on the starch or the Dr. McDougall 12-day program, and she wrote a book about it called The Thriving on Starch. And I just love reading her book. And it's so distracting because I'm trying to read her book, but I have so much to do. So it's like, oh no, I got to go back and read that later. Richard Hubbard, I liked his book. It's his life story about all of his struggles, and I saved that one so I could go back and read it. My
Nice.
friend Elspeth Feldman, she and her daughter collaborated and did one on French, Indian, and Thai. Really good. So I have a whole folder here of recipes that I'm going to be making in the next few days. And the other one that was really exciting to me, I accidentally printed the cover off, but so I have it here, is I love Broccoli Mom's Indian book. So
Yeah.
I accidentally printed the cover off. I used up so much printer ink, it was ridiculous. But I'm going to make her tofu tiki non-wrap, tikka, tofu tikka non-wrap. And that's on my list, along with I've got like, I picked 10 things: homemade Snickers bars from Date Lady. Date Lady gives us a coupon, and for some, I think it was 15% off or something. Tofu egg salad sandwich. Ellen Allard's pecan pie still cut oatmeal. I'm going to make that live too. And I'm going to make Lissa's breakfast burrito, her raw wrap. So that's something I've never tried before, but I'm going to make a wrap. And then I'm going to make the pizza from, can't remember her name, but she has a pizza
Oh,
party.
Rebecca Stoner, who was on
Yeah.
yesterday.
Rebecca
That looked
Stoner's
really
pizza
good.
party. So anyway, that's just some of the ones. I've already made a ton of smoothie recipes, and I'm making like a new smoothie every day and just trying to make everybody else's recipes and I'm also making a bunch of mine. Okay, I'm going to show you real quick how to make one without the form, and then I'm going to put it all on a plate and we'll see how we could eat this thing. So if you're just making one without the sushi form or the onigiri form, wet your hands, grab a little salt, and you can skip the salt. I always use a measuring cup and get about half a cup because I don't want them to be all different sizes. I want everything to be a uniform size, especially if you're going to plate them up. This one's a little small. If you're going to plate it up, you want everything to be kind of the same. And then you just start forming it in your hands. You just kind of, my goal is to have a triangle. So I just kind of move it around in my hands and form it until it looks like a triangle. And if I wanted to put some filling in it, I just make a little dent. And then I can take my chickpea filling, stick it in there, cover it up, put a little more rice on it if I want to. And also, you don't have to even put filling in these. A lot of times, one way to eat them is just plain without any filling. So, and you don't have to put seaweed on them. I know some people are not seaweed lovers, and so they don't love seaweed, so you can just skip it.
Have you ever thought of maybe shaping them in like for holidays, like maybe heart for Valentine's Day, you know?
Oh yeah, I have molds for all that. I have little plastic onigiri molds in all different shapes, stars, hearts, squares. And like for kids' lunches, that's what they do. They'll have different shaped rice balls, to represent different things. So yeah, you could definitely, there's little plastic forms you can get for all that stuff.
Is this something that would be commonly found at a Japanese restaurant? Because I go to a lot of Asian restaurants, but they're mostly up here. They seem to be Vietnamese.
Mhm.
So I don't see these. But if I went to a Japanese restaurant, do you think I would see this on the menu?
Not really, because it's kind of like a specialty thing. So there's a place in Santa Monica called Blue Omusubi, which is another word for onigiri, but it's the same thing. And at Sunny Blue in Santa Monica, they make these exact type of onigiri. You walk in and they have someone back behind the thing doing what I'm doing, making a bunch of them, putting them on a tray, and you eat them. They're still kind of warmish, like these are still a little warm, which makes them really good. So someplace like that, and then occasionally you'll find a place, but this is more like something people eat at home. It's not something they eat in restaurants, except in Japan. There's actually a restaurant in Japan called Onigiri Bongo, like bongo drum. But in this restaurant, there is a 2 to 3 hour wait to get in and eat the onigiri, and it looks just like this. And in fact, that's where I got the idea for that form, was they use that at this restaurant in Japan. And they have 50 different fillings, everything from a bunch of vegetable fillings, and they have that plum, and they have mushrooms and greens, but they have a lot of meat ones too. But people they wait 2 to 3 hours to eat in there, and they serve all you can eat miso soup along with the onigiri and pickles. So what I did to show us is I set up a little tray, and we're going to have our little onigiri meal that you would get if you went to Japan. I don't think you could get this in America. Now, if you come visit me in Texas, I'd make it for you. So if you're ever in Texas, Chef AJ.
You're in Dallas, right?
I'm in closer to Fort Worth.
Oh, Fort Worth. Okay.
And then we can put our miso soup. And I did a YouTube video yesterday. It's on YouTube of my miso soup balls, and I'll show you. What I do is I make the miso soup in a big bowl, even with tofu in it and seaweed and everything, and I freeze it in this silicone container. And then when I want a bowl of miso soup, all I have to do is pop out one of those discs, and it makes a perfect one serving of miso soup, which I love, because even though miso soup's not hard to make, it does take some time to gather all the ingredients and make it. So this makes it like instant, but it's fresh because it was in the freezer, and it didn't it's not like a dry powder. And you can control the sodium, because if you use those dry miso mixes, they tend to be really, they don't taste very good for one thing, but they probably have a lot more sodium. So what I have here is I have my tray, and it has the onigiri, and I put 3 of them. So that's like 1.5 cups of rice. I could eat that many. I'm sure Chef AJ, you could eat that many.
When I
and
eat
then
rice, I'm eating
yeah,
2 or 3
rice.
cups. I wish
Yeah.
somebody would open an onigiri restaurant by me, because now I want to eat them and I don't want to make them. Hey, I got an idea. You ever thought about fusion, making Lissa's wraps and putting the onigiri in the wrap and eating?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what like all these new, sushi burritos and stuff. Like if you don't want to mess with all this stuff, you can just make some really good Japanese rice and put it in some seaweed and, put a filling inside. So it's not a hard thing to make, but, to me, I say that, but I've made this and I've taught classes now on how to make it. So I'm gotten a lot better at it. But when I made it for my mother, it looked really sad. And then I have some, the Japanese, when they go to that Onigiri Bongo, they get pickles. And so these are just really good cucumber slices with a tiny pinch of sea salt. The Japanese eat a lot of salty vegetables, so that's kind of not very healthy, because they have some issues with stomach cancer. So they say don't eat all the salty side pickles that the Japanese eat. So I just very lightly season them. Then I have my miso soup with some tofu and wakame. So wakame is different from nori. Somebody was asking me about it this morning. You know, what's the difference between nori and wakame? Is it the same thing? And it's not. This is wakame. And wakame is like thin. It's almost like looks like leather when it's not hydrated. And it's used in soup and it's very tender once it's been rehydrated. And that's what's floating in your miso soup. It's wakame.
Wakame.
But
What is
yeah,
your favorite sea vegetables?
I like nori
Yeah.
because I grew up eating it. So I could take the nori like this and I could toast it over the open flame, which is something my mother would do when making sushi, and then tear off pieces of it and eat it plain. The Koreans, they make a roasted seaweed that they put oil and salt on, which is not very healthy, but it tastes really good. I used to eat that, but now I just eat plain seaweed. So I love seaweed. I love the furikake seaweed sprinkles, you know, and I like wakame. I like all of it. Hijiki seaweed is good. They're all good for your health. They have iodine
I love
and they have
dulse.
other properties.
Have you ever had dulse?
Yes, I have.
I like the smoked dulse. It has kind of a
Mhm.
bacony flavor.
Yeah, that's become kind of a new snack.
Yeah,
When I was in Alaska, a woman collected all kinds of seaweed around where she lived and she turned it into these seaweed snacks and they were really good. They were chewy and wonderful. So
what's
yeah.
your favorite rice? Is it like me, white, or do you have another favorite?
My favorite rice is this rice right here, this Japanese, premium Japanese, like sushi rice. Because, you know, I lived in Japan for 4 years. I grew up eating this every day. You know, we always had a pot of rice. My mother always had a rice, and we could always have it. And my children, all four of my children who are now adults, ranging in age from 33 to 47 almost, they eat rice and their kids love rice. So it's so funny. My little grandsons come over and they ask me to make them a pot of Japanese rice. So
And
they
you make
like it.
it. What's the name of the rice cooker you recommend? Is it the one that
It's
starts
a
with a Z?
zojirushi.
Yeah, that's the one I
Zojirushi.
hear is fantastic. And the Japanese rice, can you get that online? Because I haven't seen it in a store.
Yeah, you can get it. You can order it from Amazon. In fact, I think I got that from Amazon. Let me
Nice.
go yell at my husband for a second.
Yeah, we want to introduce each other's dogs. Are you guys
Yes.
enjoying the bundle? Have you?
Hey, Steve, can you bring Toshi in?
Yeah, we want Toshi to meet Bailey. And guys, just click the link. Even if you don't buy, just please look at what we're offering you. $8,000
Yes.
worth of content. Is rice your favorite starch, though, overall?
Yes, I have to stop myself because I eat rice all the time, brown rice usually, white rice maybe once a week or maybe twice. And you know, people will always say stuff to me like, "Aren't you afraid to eat rice because of the potential of arsenic?"
Oh
And I
my
always say,
God.
"I do
I'm
not care." Here, I'll take them.
I'm not afraid.
I just say,
I always say
"Look,
sweet potatoes are my favorite, but white rice
yeah,
is a close second. Hi,
this is
hello.
Toshi. He's now, let's see, 15 weeks old, and he's a boxer. And when I got him, he weighed 10 pounds. And he's been home for 6 weeks and now he weighs about 20 something pounds. He's gotten so big. He's just a big chunk and he is the best puppy. He's so good. No, you can't have my food. He's really been quiet for the most part and housebroken almost. And he'll sit in his little area in his little like puppy playpen really quietly when I'm busy. Like I can put him in there and go cook my stuff and he'll just sit there and watch me. So he's been good.
Oh, he's precious.
Let me see your dog.
Hey, hello,
Oh,
Bailey. Say hi
hi,
to
baby.
Toshi. Bailey, say hi to Toshi.
He looks like a stuffed animal.
Toshi.
So cute.
She
Yeah,
weighs
I'm glad you're a dog lover because all my children are grown up and my husband and I have three boxers and boxers are like people. You know, they're so affectionate and they look at you and they want to do everything you do and hang out with you wherever you're at. So it's been great. Okay, I'm going to give you back to Dad.
Oh, he is precious. Say
You
hi.
saw him. You saw him like the week I got him. I sent you that picture, and he's
No,
changed so much since then.
I love him.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
like Toshi, then buy the bundle from
Yes. The bundle is awesome, Chef AJ. They've done a wonderful job. And I didn't even say that in addition to all these food things, I'm interested in the food things because I cook, but I noticed a lot of really good exercise things about, 100 workouts and a whole library of exercise workouts that you would have access to, or yoga for all bodies, which I thought was great because the yoga instructor, was letting people know that you don't have to be some perfectly fit person who looks good in their yoga pants to attend a yoga class. You can be anybody.
Can be
And I love
anything.
that. So, there was just so much good content about so many different topics, not just cooking.
Yep.
So I hope
Yep. There's a
you'll get
gut
it.
course by Dr. McDougall. There's
Hmm.
a food photography and styling course by Ross Chef Yin.
Yeah,
Penny says, I bought the bundle from Julia on Friday and made Rachel Detroit's gooey chocolate banana cookies. And I have origami molds and we'll make them soon. And Rachel will be on the show today at 3 o'clock.
great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
What are you wearing? What is it? Is there a
Oh,
name
it's a happy coat. It's just a look at the back. It's the
you
Fort Worth Japanese Society. We had these made because when we do all these festivals and things, I'm always cooking at festivals, and we have them in the Botanic Gardens, and so we all wear these happy coats, and then people know that we're the Japanese Society if they need to ask a question. So I just took it out of the closet and thought it fit the occasion, so I would wear the happy coat for today.
That's great. Let's see. Karen is saying,
Uh-oh, I lost your sound, Chef AJ.
that's because I accidentally
Oh,
clicked the,
okay.
I hope Karen is asking for download help. So Karen, please email our help desk, uwlbundle@gmail.com. And we have somebody, operator, standing by almost 24 hours a day to help you. Because I'm not as, even if I could help you, I'm not as tech savvy to explain it, but I'm sure we're going to get this figured out. So if you would just email the help desk, we'll help you. Jackie says, my day is complete with Chef Julia.
That's nice. Is that
Yeah,
Jackie Ruth's?
it sure
She
is.
was she was on my morning show as well.
Uh,
And she used to watch me every day back during COVID. And she was stuck at home and not feeling well. And she said that I really helped her way back
oh,
then. So I'm so
that's so
happy that
nice.
she's still with me.
Nice. I see your stuff and I just, those classes you teach in person, if you were just a tiny bit closer, I would love to do something like that too. But it's just, even though I have a fairly large house, it's not really set up for that. You know what I mean? You kind
Yeah,
of have to
yeah,
have it a certain way,
yeah.
but I'd love to get back to teaching hands-on cooking in places other
Mhm.
than Mexico, which
It's
is
a
where
lot. It's rewarding. And I only do it. I have these retreats. The most I've had is 4 times a year because it's an 8-hour day. And I have one coming up in June. I still have some openings in that one. But it's really exhausting. Every time I do one after it's over, I look at Steve and
say
who
we're never
helps me.
doing this again.
And
That's
then I say that,
exactly
I say, I shouldn't do any more of these. It's
That's
too
what I
much
say after
work.
every bundle, after every summit, and after every conference. It's kind of like women that have a baby and say, I'm not doing this
Mhm.
again. And then
Yeah,
4 kids later, you know?
yeah.
Thank you for that comment, Lydia. Chef James was mentioning that the bundle makes great gifts. And so even if you yourself don't think you'll use it, I mean, what a great gift. Remember, you
Mhm.
have a year to download it and you could just buy it and just send it to the person's email you want. I didn't even think of that. So
Yeah,
fantastic.
great idea.
All right. Well, always great to see you. Thank you so much for your creativity. You just make the most beautiful plant-based food. And now we have Japanese food too.
Thank you, Chef AJ, and thanks for all your exceedingly hard work having all of us on during Bundle Week.
I
And
tried, but I
appreciate
mean,
it.
with 150 contributors, I could only get about a third of you on. That's why
Yeah.
get your bundle in soon to get a spot
Mhm.
on the show. I'd love to hear, text me what your chef friends think of the Goodman peanut
I
chews.
will. Yes, I definitely will. They're going to love them. So
Yeah,
I can't
maybe
wait to.
refined sugar. All right. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you so
Thank you,
much,
Chef
Chef Julie.
AJ. Take
Oh, thank
care.
you. And
Bye-bye.
thank you. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. One more show today, and it's at 3 o'clock with Rachel Detroit. I don't know if she's making food or what, but she has
She is.
amazing.
She's making food.
Okay, good. Because she has Lebanese recipes. She has 3 books in the bundle, and she's just a pure delight. See you guys in 25 minutes. Take care.